Car Picanus went hunting up in North Texas. I just made my first set of rounds on this property when I returned back to the truck and spied this coyote that came out in the open. Hit it at 145 yards. Got it recorded with my IR Hunter Mark III thermal weapon sight.
Optics provided by Third Coast Thermal.
And there he goes down and disappears into a low spot, which is going to be a theme for the rest of the evening.
Brass Catcher by Tactical Brass Recovery.
He came in right at 31 pounds, and the custom reloads of Dallas Hornet eld-m 130 grain ammo impacted about 2,060 feet per second, entering behind the shoulder and exiting further back, hence why he ran so far. And just a little while later, Car Jesus spied this hog again from the truck where I've been scanning the field. The wind is blowing from left to right. The moon's only at 31%, but it's pretty bright, casting a shadow, but this hog is only at 100 yards, which is the distance at which I'm zeroed. Well, I fully expected that shot. I'm going to drop that hog right there in place with an impact velocity of over 2,100 feet per second. Looks like good shot placement, but he disappeared into the woods. So I drove by my next property where the landowner had problems with hogs rooting up his winter wheat field last week. As you can see, getting under the oak trees. I didn't have permission to hunt, so I sent him a text saying that hog is in your wheat field, okay to pursue. And as I waited for him to respond, I got this video from right outside the fence. The wind is blowing from left to right. Once again, bright moon, and the hog's out there at about 330 yards. I got a reply back, yes, on foot. He said this because it had rained since last week and the fields were still wet. So this is my exuberant reply, and I take off on my hunt. Here I'm actually crouched down on my knees in the field as the car is driving by, illuminating the field with its headlights. I'm trying to hide from the hog as much as possible. It's bad enough with the moon as bright as it is. Now I've come around where I'm downwind of the hog, and as I make my final push, the hog actually sees me and starts taking off. That shot hits. I'm pretty certain that shot missed. And I follow the hog as it runs. It's got a long way to go before it makes it to the neighbor's property. And it just disappeared. I'm thinking at the time, the earth has swallowed up this hog, as there are no holes in this field. So here's this again in slow motion. He looks like he's stumbling a bit, and he disappears. Turns out there's a swale in the field. I missed it on my first pass, but after 20 minutes looking, found it. Sent the landowner a note saying pig down. The hog was a boar that came in at 170 pounds, and because it went down only about 30 yards from the car path across the property, I was able to wheel it back to my truck at the gate for later necropsy. And I continued on to my next property where I spied this hog. And the winds were swirling around the old house and the equipment behind it. I was never able to get close to this hog. And long before I ever had a shot, it winded me, took off running. And here I'm watching it disappear into the woods about 300 yards away. I continued hunting for a good while longer, but with no other hogs in sight, I returned with the one hog that I had and decided to take a look at the custom reloads of Dallas Hornet eld-m. Ballistic damage on this hog. There you can see the one entry wound going into its right side. And then I was stuck with trying to figure out why there was one exit wound here, as well as this wound here that I initially thought might be an entry wound, and maybe I shot the hog twice. Sure enough, this one looks like an exit wound. Big, nasty, open hole. And the other wound is small. Looks like an entry wound. It even has a small slit in the skin that you can see right here. Looks like an entry wound. The only problem is, when looking at the video, the first shot is quartered away in the right side, and the second shot looks like a Texas heart shot that would have missed, and so the entry on the left side cannot be an entry wound. So with no wound on the butt, the only entry wound is this one wound on the right side. It corresponds with the exit wound on the opposite side that you see here. And I have no idea how this wound has occurred. If you have an idea how this wound would have occurred, please let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Carpe sus, my friends.